It happened on a Tuesday night. The kind of night where the silence doesn't feel peaceful, it feels pointed, accusing. The dinner plates were still warm, Brooke's lasagna cooling untouched on Mia's plate. Logan already halfway through his second soda, even though I'd asked him not to have more than one. I was clearing the table, doing what I always did. Silently, reliably, without thanks or ceremony. Mia scrolled through her phone with one hand, fork in the other, legs curled up on the chair like she was dining at a friend's place. Not her home. Her nails were painted black, chipped at the edges. She hadn't made eye contact with me in weeks. I said it softly, almost offhand, like it was nothing. "Hey, Mia, can you help load the dishwasher?" She didn't flinch, didn't look up, just let the words hang in the air for a beat longer than necessary. Then came the reply, "You're not my dad. You're just the guy who brings the groceries." Just like that. Casual cruelty. Not shouted, not screamed, just delivered, flat and certain, like a diagnosis. From the couch, Logan laughed. It wasn't a loud laugh. It was the kind that didn't need volume to cut deep, the kind that said, "We've said this before, just not to your face." I stood there with the plate in my hand, half a bite of lasagna still congealing on the porcelain. I looked at her. She never looked back. I didn't answer. What was I supposed to say? That I wasn't the guy who brought the groceries? Because I was. I brought the groceries. I fixed the sink when it leaked. I paid for the Netflix they binged in their rooms. I bought the soap, the batteries, the printer paper they used for their school projects. I replaced Mia's car tires in February without being asked. I took Logan to the dentist when Brooke was working. I drove them both to school when the bus was late. I ironed Logan's shirt for his first middle school presentation. He didn't say thank you, but I saw him look at his reflection twice before he left the house. I've cooked every meal they've eaten under this roof for 4 years. But I wasn't their dad, and they wanted to make sure I never forgot it. Brooke wasn't home. Night shift at the pharmacy. She wouldn't be back until after midnight. She wouldn't hear what Mia said. She wouldn't hear Logan's laughter. She'd come home to a clean kitchen and a stocked fridge and 2 kids sleeping under a roof paid for by a man they decided didn't count. That night, I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't ask for an apology. I walked to the pantry, grabbed the groceries I had bought that morning, and packed them back into bags. Box by box, bottle by bottle, one slow motion at a time. I didn't make eye contact. I didn't say a word. I loaded them into the back of my car. When I came back inside, Mia was gone. So was Logan. Their plates were still on the table. Forks on top of smeared sauce. No one had helped clear. No one ever did. I sat down at the table alone and finished my dinner cold. That night, I logged into the delivery app and canceled the weekly grocery subscription. The one tied to my card. The one that restocked the fridge every Tuesday like clockwork. I started a new one with a smaller list, a different zip code, tied to the apartment I had leased across town. Quietly, without telling Brooke, without telling anyone. I didn't make the lease out of spite. I made it out of necessity. A year ago, I started having trouble sleeping. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, Brooke's breath soft beside me, and wonder. If I left tomorrow, what would change? Would Logan notice? Would Mia? Would Brooke? It's not that I wanted to leave. Not at first. But there's something corrosive about giving without receiving. Something about being tolerated instead of loved that starts to peel you apart in layers. I wasn't asking to be called Dad. I wasn't even asking for affection. I was just asking for presence. For basic human recognition. For a nod that said, "You matter." When I married Brooke, her kids were still figuring life out. Mia was 12, already too old to start fresh. Already guarding herself like a fortress. Logan was 9, always watching Mia, copying her moods. Derek, their real dad, wasn't around much. A holiday here, a birthday there. He was the kind of father who showed up with gifts, not groceries. Flashy, distant, and forgettable. The kind of man who still got called dad even though he did less for them in a year than I did in a week. I never tried to replace him. That's what I told myself. That I wasn't trying to take his place. That I was just doing the work. Quietly, steadily. I wasn't interested in the title. I just wanted to build something real. Not a fantasy. Not a movie version family. Just stability. Safety. Some small warmth in a cold house. And for a while I thought it was working. Mia would sometimes ask me to review her school projects. Once, she sent me a mood board for a bedroom makeover and asked what I thought. She even texted me when she got her learner's permit. Just a photo of the paper card with a simple "finally." I took that as something. A breadcrumb. A signal. We never had heart-to-hearts. But she didn't flinch when I entered a room. Logan would sit next to me on the couch sometimes. I taught him how to patch drywall. He didn't say thanks, but he remembered it. Used the same technique when his closet rod fell. We weren't a textbook family, but we had a rhythm. We weren't affectionate, but we functioned. We existed together. That counted for something, didn't it? But then Mia turned 18. She stayed home, started working part-time at a flower shop. Stopped talking unless she needed something. Started treating the house like a place she happened to live, not like a home. Logan followed. He always followed. Monkey see, monkey scorn. Brooke said it was just a phase. Teenagers were like that. Distant. Guarded. But this wasn't distance. This was dismissal. They weren't pulling away because they were growing up. They were pushing me out because they had decided I was never in. And Brooke, God bless her, she never said much. Never challenged them. Never pushed back. If Mia rolled her eyes at me, Brooke looked the other way. If Logan ignored me, she filled the silence with a quick joke or a subject change. She called it keeping the peace. But peace without respect is just polite war. And every war has a turning point. That Tuesday night was mine. The truth is, I could have taken the insult. I've taken worse. I could have shrugged it off, told myself she didn't mean it, that teenagers speak in bullets without knowing where they land. But it wasn't just the words. It was the tone. That effortless cruelty. That absolute certainty that she had nothing to lose by saying it. That's what made me move. That's what made me pack the groceries. That's what made me turn my key in the lock of an apartment no one knew I had. Stare at the bare walls, and feel more at peace in their emptiness than I had in the family home in months. I didn't plan revenge. I didn't plan anything, really. I just knew I couldn't keep playing the role of something I wasn't allowed to be. I couldn't keep feeding a house that called me a stranger. Couldn't keep loving a family that saw me as a ghost with a credit card. I started with the groceries. But it wouldn't stop there. Because every man has a line. And that night, mine finally came into view. Mia's bedroom used to be beige. Plain drywall. Thumbtacks and curling posters. Then she got into vlogging, beauty tutorials, skincare routines, haul videos where she'd open packages and pretend she wasn't being funded by someone she didn't respect. She rebranded the space. Called it her studio. Vanity mirror with light bulbs rimmed like Broadway. Ring light on a tripod, adjustable height. White floating shelves I spent a Saturday mounting. New paint, rose smoke, the label said. A color I wouldn't forget, even if I wanted to. I paid for all of it. I installed all of it. I was up on the stepladder when she asked me to tilt the lights just right, so it wouldn't show the peeling baseboards in her background. I remember nodding, measuring, getting it perfect. I remember feeling something like hope. That maybe, with enough consistency, the contempt would fade. That maybe I could be useful enough to be human. But utility only buys silence. It doesn't buy belonging. It was a Thursday when it happened. 2 nights after the groceries. I'd just gotten home from work. Hands still stiff from carrying lumber. Brooke was on another night shift. I heard laughter upstairs. Not joy, but that sharp, girlish laughter that doesn't invite you in. The kind that keeps you downstairs. I shouldn't have listened. I should have gone to the garage, lost myself in a drawer that needed fixing or a light bulb that didn't. But I didn't. I stood at the foot of the stairs, out of sight, and listened. Mia's voice came through, airy and amused. Yeah, he bought all this. Thinks he's like part of the team. It's kinda cute. Then came the punchline. It didn't sound rehearsed, it sounded honest. He's not part of my life. He just pays bills. Laughter erupted. Not cruel. Casual. Like they were sharing a joke about a delivery guy who lingers too long at the door. I walked into the garage. Came back with boxes. Didn't say a word. No announcements. No accusations. I walked into her room. Her friends froze. Mia's mouth dropped. I unplugged the mirror, coiled the ring light cord, dismounted the shelves with practiced hands, took down every last item I had paid for, touched, installed. Her studio shrank back into beige. She didn't stop me. Not at first. Shock held her still. I moved methodically. Mirror, LEDs, power strip, surge protector, every bulb, every hook. I left the holes in the wall. I left the dust behind. When the last box was sealed, I walked out. The next morning, I was in the kitchen pouring coffee when I heard her scream. He took my mirror. He took everything. Logan was still in pajamas, munching cereal, unfazed. Brooke came running downstairs, hair messy, still tying her robe. What's going on? Mia gasped. He came into my room and just took it all. My ring light, my mirror, even the shelves. He stole it. I looked up from my mug, calm, measured. I didn't steal anything. I reclaimed what I paid for. Brooke blinked. What? She said I'm not part of her life, that I just pay bills. So I removed myself and the bills. Mia's voice cracked. I didn't mean it like that. I set the coffee down. No, Mia. You meant it exactly like that. You said it when you thought I wasn't listening, when you thought it wouldn't cost you anything. You told your friends what you actually believed. And now I'm responding accordingly. I slid a printed sheet across the counter. Itemized. Clean. Her phone plan, mine. Her video streaming services, mine. Her delivery apps, music subscription, ring light brand, all tied to my card. All now canceled or transferred. She looked at the paper like it was a ransom note. You can't do this, she shouted. I have followers. I have a schedule. I nodded. Then figure out how to keep it running without me. Brooke looked stricken. She opened her mouth to protest, but no words came out. She looked at Mia, then me, then the paper. Mia tried to pivot. Her tone softened, sweetened. I was just mad. Derek, I didn't mean it toward you. I was venting. Something in me snapped. You were mad at the man who abandoned you, so you punished the man who stayed. Is that it? Mia froze. Because that's not venting. That's projection. And I'm not your punching bag. The silence stretched. I walked over to the cabinet, pulled a second sheet from the drawer. Set it next to the first. This is your updated expense list. What your lifestyle actually costs, month to month. If you'd like to maintain it, you're welcome to pick up the payments. Mia stared. I don't have that kind of money. I shrugged. Then live within your means. She looked to Brooke again, desperate. But Brooke just stood there, rooted to the tile. Her voice came out small. She's just a kid, Michael. I didn't flinch. She's 18. That's old enough to know what words mean. Old enough to be accountable. Mia stormed off. Logan followed, eyes wide. Brooke stayed behind. We stood in the kitchen, neither of us speaking. Outside, the morning sun came through the blinds in thin lines. It lit the table where I had eaten alone 100 times, where I had paid bills while Brooke slept, where I had wrapped gifts for kids who'd never called me theirs. I did everything for her, I said quietly. Not to be her father, just to be respected. Brooke looked away. That afternoon, I found Mia trying to reconnect her ring light. She had borrowed an old lamp from the living room. She looked at me when I entered, guilt tangled in her features. I just wanted to make something of myself. I nodded. Then build it on your own terms, not on someone you claim doesn't belong. She didn't answer. I left her there half-lit, half-honest. That night, I slept at the apartment. I didn't leave a note. The house hadn't been a home for a long time. It was just a stage where I played the same role. Provider, chauffeur, maintenance man. I did the work, took the hits, ate the silence. They called it normal. But what's normal about a man giving everything and being treated like nothing? What's normal about Brooke hearing her daughter humiliate me and offering only a wince? What's normal about silence that defends cruelty? In the apartment, the fridge hummed. The walls were bare. The floors were quiet. No footsteps. No laughter behind closed doors. Just peace. I stared at the ceiling. Slept better than I had in months. In the morning, I ordered coffee. 1 cup. My name. My card. No one else to pay for. No one else to explain myself to. And for the first time, I felt something like control. Not revenge. Just reality. The old life hadn't ended. It had expired. The internet always has something to say. The morning after I stripped Mia's room bare, she posted a TikTok. A 15-second clip, shaky camera, mascara barely dry. She stood in front of the wall where the mirror used to hang, her voice trembling just enough to feel real. Imagine living with a man who thinks paying bills makes him your boss. Sir, you're not even family. The text over the video read, "When your mom marries a control freak, and now you're being emotionally abused because you don't call him dad." The music? Something sad and looped. Something designed to make her the victim. By noon, it had over 80,000 views. The comments came like vultures. Girls with usernames like @ChaosBabe and @DivorceDaughter wrote things like, "Run, girl. You don't owe that man anything. And that's why stepdads are dangerous. They want control, not love." Even men chimed in, classic narcissist move. Cut her off to punish her. You're better off without him. She was being worshipped for her bravery. I watched the whole thing from the apartment. My name wasn't in the post. My face wasn't visible. But I knew what she was doing. Painting herself into a saint. Turning pain she had caused into sympathy she hadn't earned. I didn't comment. Didn't react. Let the world call her brave. The world wasn't paying her bills. The week that followed was quiet. The house text thread, which Brooke had once used for grocery lists and reminders, went silent. No one asked where I was. No one asked if I was coming back. I waited. I waited because I knew the fire always feels warm, until it eats the floor out from under you. 3 days later, the first ember fell. Mia's data plan slowed to a crawl. I downgraded the shared plan to just Brooke's line. Mia's phone still worked, technically, but the streaming lagged, uploads froze, and her digital world cracked at the seams. She sent me a text. "Can you fix the Wi-Fi? It's acting weird." I didn't reply. The next day, I got an alert. Logan had tried to order pizza using the delivery app, still tied to the email I'd set up for him 2 years ago. The payment was declined. Another text. "Hey, I think the account glitched. Can you check?" No response. Then the subscriptions started falling apart. Streaming services. Cloud storage. The Adobe license Mia used to edit her videos. All of it unraveled like loose thread. Quietly. Systematically. They didn't call me. They called Brooke. She texted, "Mia says the apps aren't working. Is that on purpose?" I wrote back, "I'm not funding someone who says I'm not part of her life." No reply. By the end of the week, the TikTok hit 200,000 views. But a new kind of comment started to appear. A girl asked, "Wait, did you actually live rent-free? Like for real?" Another, "You're mad he won't fund your lifestyle, but you say he's nothing to you?" Then the turning point. A coworker of Mia's, I recognized the name from a carpool I used to do, commented, "Do you even pay for your own phone? Just asking." Mia deleted the video 2 hours later. That night, while I was in the garage at the apartment fixing a drawer, I heard someone approach. The sound of cautious footsteps. I didn't turn around. She stood there in the doorway. "I'm sorry," she said. The words barely made it out. I didn't stop working. I let the silence breathe. "I was mad at my dad," she continued. "But I took it out on you because I knew you wouldn't leave." That hit harder than the insult. I set the screwdriver down, looked at her. "You don't heal by hurting someone else." She nodded. No makeup this time. No ring light glow. Just a tired girl standing in a garage with someone she didn't know how to talk to. There was no hug. No music swell. Just silence. After that, something shifted. She didn't apologize again, not with words. But the signals came in other ways. Her subscriptions migrated to her own card. She asked her boss for more hours. I saw her reading the fine print on bills, scribbling notes. She kept the studio lights off most nights, used natural light, took down the pity bait. One day she asked to borrow my drill, brought it back fully charged. Progress, not love, but progress. Logan followed her lead in his own way. He stopped slamming doors, said thanks once quietly when I fixed his bike tire, didn't look me in the eye, but didn't roll his eyes either. And Brooke? She started texting again. Not questions, not requests, just updates. Logan passed his math test. Mia got a raise at the flower shop. I made that stew you like. I didn't reply, but I read every one. Then 3 months later, Mia knocked again. I'm doing a new series, she said. Budget studio setups. Realistic builds. She looked nervous. I want to rebuild the room, not like before. Just practical. Would you help me film it? I studied her face. She didn't wear apology. She wore effort. I'll think about it, I said. She nodded. Didn't push. That same week, Derek made another promise. He said he'd buy her a new camera. A real one, top tier, she told Brooke. He said the money would be in by Friday. Friday came. Then Saturday. Nothing. Sunday morning, I stopped by the house to grab a toolbox I'd left in the closet. I heard it before I saw it. Soft crying. Not the kind designed for an audience. Not performative. Just quiet, broken sound from behind a half-closed door. I didn't go in. I left a note on the counter. Breakfast is in the fridge. It's okay to be disappointed. Just don't let it turn you into someone you wouldn't respect. I didn't sign it. She never mentioned the note. But a week later, while I was helping her mount a second-hand shelf in her room, I found it, folded neatly in the drawer beneath her skincare products. Not thrown away, not forgotten. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to, and that's when I knew. She and Brooke finally saw it, what I had carried. Silently, willingly, until I didn't. Not with resentment, not with vengeance, just with clarity. I was never owed their love, but I was done paying for their contempt. I never moved back into the house, even after the apologies, even after the changes, even after Mia started calling me by name again. Not just him or the guy upstairs. Something in me had already calcified. A hardness I didn't ask for, but couldn't shake. There are things you can't return from once you've seen them clearly. I still visited, fixed things when they broke, dropped by with tools when Logan stripped a bolt on his desk chair, ate dinner with them sometimes, when Brooke was off and the house was quieter. But I always left by nightfall, back to the apartment, back to the silence. It wasn't punishment. It was preservation. You can only be invisible in your own home for so long before you start believing you don't exist. 3 months after the note, the one she kept, Mia asked if I'd help her shoot her first long-form video. A budget studio rebuild. Not glossy, not fake. Just practical, authentic, and stripped of performance. I showed up with my old DSLR, the one I'd used back when I thought hobbies would save me. We filmed the setup together. She narrated. I didn't speak. My hands moved in the background, adjusting the light, drilling into the drywall, wiring the power strip. She credited me in the caption. Built with help from someone who always showed up. It didn't go viral, but it was honest. That same week, Derek called her. Promised he'd finally pay for something. A new vlogging camera, the good one. Said the money would clear by Friday. Friday came. Then Saturday. Sunday. I was working late that night when Brooke called me. Voice low, almost embarrassed. She waited for him all weekend, she said. Didn't go out. Didn't spend a cent. She really believed this time. I asked, did she say anything? Brooke hesitated. She cried. That night I didn't call Mia, didn't check in. But I left another note on the porch under her plant. The worst kind of hope is the kind that makes you lie to yourself. But the best kind? That's the kind you build with your own hands. Keep building. I didn't sign it, but she knew. The next week, the old camera, the one I'd lent her, was still in use. She hadn't replaced it. She hadn't waited. She filmed. She posted. She built without him. That was the beginning of something small, but real. Mia didn't become grateful overnight. Logan didn't suddenly embrace me. Brooke didn't rewrite the past. But the atmosphere changed. The air wasn't so sharp. The silence wasn't so heavy. Respect, I realized, doesn't always come loud. Sometimes it just stops making you feel like a stranger. But I never came back fully. Because what no one tells you about being a stepfather is this. You can pour yourself into a family like water into a cracked vase. It will hold for a while. It might even seem full. But it leaks when you're not looking. It loses you slowly. And then, one day, someone laughs and says, "You're just the guy who brings the groceries." And it empties all at once. I stayed away not because I hated them, but because I finally loved myself enough not to beg. Not to serve a role that came with all the cost and none of the name. Because that's what stepfathers are. Isn't it? A role. Not a person. You're expected to pay, protect, perform, and never take up space. You're the scaffolding, not the house. You're not invited into the photo albums or family trees. But when the plumbing breaks or the tuition's due or the car battery dies, everyone remembers your number. And if you dare ask for something in return, a little kindness, a little acknowledgement, you're told you're overstepping. You're not my real dad. The words come like knives, always wrapped in teenage tone or parental excuses. But they cut just the same. So I stepped back. And in my absence, they finally saw what I carried. They saw the receipts, the drilled holes, the quiet mornings, the silent car rides, the forgotten grocery bags, the meals cooked with tired hands, the bills paid without questions, the patience stretched across 4 brittle years. They saw me, not as a father, maybe not even as family, but as something they'd taken for granted until it vanished. Mia paid for her own streaming account now. Logan got a part-time job at the skate shop. Brooke stopped asking me for money unless it was an emergency, and when she did, she asked, not assumed. It wasn't redemption. It was reality. And it was enough. One night, a full year later, Mia asked if I could review a script she'd written. A voiceover for a sponsorship pitch. It wasn't good. It was clunky and a little too rehearsed. But I gave feedback. Honest. Direct. She took notes. Then, before she left, she asked quietly, "Do you still think about that night?" I didn't have to ask which one. "The groceries?" I said. She nodded. All the time. She looked away, like she'd expected me to say no. Like she still hadn't realized how deep those words had cut. "I didn't mean it," she said. "But you did," I replied. And we both let that truth sit there, not to punish her, but because healing can't happen in denial. "I don't know if I'll ever be able to fix it," she said. "You're not supposed to fix it," I said. "You're supposed to remember it." And she did. I saw it in her eyes. That was the last time we spoke of it. But respect, like resentment, has a long memory. I wish I could say we became a family after that. That she called me Dad. That Logan invited me to his graduation. That Brooke kissed me in the kitchen while music played softly in the background. But we didn't. She didn't. He didn't. And she wouldn't. What I got instead was quieter. They stopped making me invisible. They started choosing their words with care. And when Derek missed another birthday, they didn't cry in secret, they expected it. When I dropped by with groceries, Mia said thank you. Every time. Sometimes twice. That's what healing looks like when the wound doesn't close, but stops bleeding. And I held on to that. I held on to it because I had to. Because if I didn't, I'd fall back into the trap. Thinking that being needed meant being loved. It doesn't. Being useful is not the same as being seen. So here I am now, years later, still living in the apartment, though I've made it feel more like home. Framed pictures on the wall, none of family. Just landscapes. Things that don't argue. Things that don't lie. Brooke still texts. Sometimes we have dinner. Sometimes we don't. Mia has a small following now. Not huge, but steady. She thanks her subscribers at the end of every video. I wonder if she knows that habit started with me. Logan's gone quiet again. I think he's learning the hard way that most men do, that you either build your own structure, or you live in someone else's shadow. And Derek? Still a ghost. Still good at promises. still allergic to presents. But now they see it. Now they understand the difference. Not because I shouted, but because I stopped showing up. And that absence, that void, taught them more than I ever could. So now I leave you with this. Was I wrong? Was I wrong to draw the line? To say, if I'm not family, then I won't play the role anymore? To cancel the bills and walk away from the house I helped build? Room by ungrateful room? Or was I right to reclaim my name, my time, my dignity? Even if it meant being remembered as cold, or cruel, or gone. Would you have stayed? Would you have kept paying? Would you have swallowed your pride just to be allowed a seat at a table where no one saved you one? Tell me, was I wrong?